Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with Functional Diagnostic Nutrition practitioner Falyn Morningstar. While working with an integrative practitioner in 2019, she was guided into learning about functional health for more personal health challenges. It brought her back to life. She became a practitioner with Functional Diagnostic Nutrition in 2021, and since then has found a passion to support women in healing their metabolism, persistent fatigue, and reestablishing an emotional connection with themselves. We get into quite a bit. Enjoy this interview.
Well, hey, thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you just hopping on the phone with me. I am super new to Podmatch, and this is really the first interaction I've had, so I was thankful that you sent out a personal message to welcome me, and yeah, I'm happy to be on this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this has been a great platform, so I'm looking forward to it as well. And before we get into your life as a nutrition practitioner, I want to know, the last 3 years with COVID has been quite a thing for all of us to live through. And I'm curious how you survived that time period and how it's changed the way that not only you live, but the way that you conduct business now.
Yeah, great question. So when 2020 hit, I actually moved back home. I was originally in an apartment in town, and it was also during the time that I wanted to make a career shift. I was actually in government work, and it seemed like the perfect time when COVID hit to head back home and start to shift more into the health and wellness space. It's always been a passion of mine, but I've never had the clear direction or belief in myself that I could create that as a full-time income. So I would say that how business changed, I didn't really have a business at that point. It was really me exploring a functional health certification because I was dealing with my own health circumstances. And so since then, I've really just been conducting coaching online. I do have very few people in person if they are in my area. To be honest, COVID has been a blessing to give me that opportunity.
I've heard that quite a bit. There's been a lot of silver linings to the woe that we all went through. So to get a very clear handle on exactly what you do for a living, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day. And one of the kids is going to look up at you and say, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
That's a great question. I am a health and wellness coach, and I support mainly women who are dealing with, trying to create some third grade terms, dealing with anxiety or discomfort in their system, however that looks. And I put them on a road to become more vital, more alive, energetic, more joyful, and feel pleasurable about life. I feel like that could be a third grade level.
I agree. Yeah. I think there's enough clarity and ambiguity, and it all ties together really well. So when you were in the third grade, what was your dream when you grew up? What did you want to be?
I think, if I remember correctly, I wanted to be a teacher. Really, it was geared toward maybe sixth grade or even younger. And it's interesting today, I'm certainly not in that environment. However, the teacher in me is still here, of course, because being a coach, that is really an educator, a guide for the next person.
So it almost seems like in your capacity, you're kind of doing the best of both worlds. I mean, you're doing exactly what you wanted to do in kind of a slightly different capacity.
I would agree with that. And I continue to discover things that make me feel joyful. And I would say for a very large part of my life, I didn't have direction, or my direction was geared towards my family dynamic or conditioning to things that I should be doing, or maybe it was more approved by my family that this is the direction I should go. So I kind of lost my intuition or my connectedness with self, and that's what I really strive to support others with, because society or family or different traumas that we've experienced kind of might take us away from ourselves. And I provide not only, emotional types of coaching, specific exercises that we can regulate the nervous system and get back in touch with ourselves, but also incorporating lab tests, because they kind of validate somebody's concerns if they do not feel like themselves or they know something is missing. So bringing that together is something that also I'm discovering is very passionate for myself. So I would say little by little, I continue to feel that direction from something higher, or maybe just my higher self.
So let's go back to the beginning of this journey for you. Being somebody that helps others, you're wired differently. And I'm curious, talk to me a little about where you were born and raised and how some of these seeds were planted in you early on to become who you are today.
Yeah, I was born and raised in York, Pennsylvania, still in Pennsylvania today. And I would say some of the seeds or some of the things that I saw in my childhood, for example, some addictions or drug use, alcoholic use, really, I feel like sometimes if that's in our history, we could go towards that direction and really, okay, so let me just say we can go towards that direction. Or we can say, no, I don't want that for my life. And that was me. Like, no, I don't want that for my life. I don't want to be a smoker. I don't want to be an alcoholic. And maybe that was a seed for me to just see how others lived their life and see if that was how I wanted to live mine. And it wasn't. However, I would say in my early 20s, I started, well, actually, maybe one of these seeds was, for my entire life, lack of worth. And I think that is a majority of the population, just feeling that worth within self or the connectedness to self. Because, time and time again, I've seen my lineage really be a people pleaser. Instead of filling themselves up, they've filled others up at the resentful capacity, making them feel resentful because they keep giving and giving in hopes that they receive the love that they're looking for, but they have an inability to cultivate that love within themselves. And I developed that of I would just continue to do for others in a different capacity to what I do now. But I saw that in my mother, my grandmother, and even in their romantic relationships. And I've never had a healthy romantic relationship until the current one I'm in now. From trial and error, different experiences, or just feeling, even the abandonment wound that comes up. Because one of the seeds that was planted in childhood was, mom and dad are leaving, and no one could comfort me or allow me to express that emotion of sadness. It was really kind of no fault of my family's, love them dearly, but they didn't know how to hold that emotional space to allow me to express. And so for a large part of my life, the expression part was challenging. I used to be very shy. I even had an experience where my throat would actually feel closed. I wasn't sick or anything. It would feel like this tense closedness because I wasn't expressing the things that I need, or maybe I had confusion around what do I actually need because of that large disconnect. So I would say, to kind of bring it back around, the seeds where the worth is super big, belief in self, or really loving self. And so the trajectory of not really loving self in my 20s hit me hard, which is how I got into functional health, because I was having symptoms of insomnia, bloating, hair loss more than normal, weird body odor. So there was a lot of these health symptoms coming up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And I didn't really have that knowledge. So I went to can I continue to go? I know I'm kind of going around. Is this okay that I continue to go?
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So I needed some help. I went to my family doctor, and he thought I looked fine. I said, I think I'm having some hormonal imbalances. I'm dealing with this, and this. I would love to test my hormones. He really did not, he was not supportive. He just looked at my appearance and thought it was fine. He said, if you want to have hormonal testing, it'll probably be one hormone per test, testosterone, estrogen, and that's going to be about $100 per pop. So it seemed like he didn't know what he was talking about. So I went to my gynecologist, and I had shared with her I had, all of my symptoms, as well as I had recently stopped the birth control pill. And she seemed disgruntled that I stopped this prescription and was wondering if I wanted to get on something else. And so roundabout, that was not helpful either. So the Western medical system was not helpful. Thankfully, it was a year prior to that, to these symptoms, that I was at a retreat, and I actually met somebody that was into functional health. And it kind of, that relationship brought itself back around to me being connected with this person and actually going through functional lab testing myself, that being food sensitivity test, a comprehensive hormone test, a stool test. All of these tests help to validate my symptoms and shed light on a direction I should be going to heal. That information was so mind-blowing to me that I decided to actually go through the certification myself, which is how I became a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. So leading up to the seeds of worth and that disconnection from self and not really knowing what myself needed, it just over the years got further and further apart. I was very much an achievement type of person. I still have that go, go, go mentality. And it's just I have a very large drive and curiosity for life. But I think it was in non-awareness. I didn't have the awareness of really what I was doing and why I was doing it. I was working full time, going to grad school, training 6 days a week. I also became a personal trainer. So it was just too much. And my emotional capacity and my nervous system was really out of whack. So I would say throughout this journey, it's this little discovery after little discovery of why I'm doing what I'm doing, what I should be doing. I don't know if you've had these experiences of, the universe or whatever you believe helps to show us little things, but we have to be aware of those things. And I find that the more that I am slowing down, the faster I am going forward in life, or the more content or the more fulfilled and pleasurable I feel about life.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense, all of it. In this journey in your life, who's been kind of a role model or a hero for you?
And a really impactful person in my life came at a time when I had a very intense breakup. And to this day, almost 7 years later, we are still, very much connected. We see each other often. And I would say, as far as a role model, he has been the most consistent and stable masculine male that I've had in my life. And he is currently 65. I had to think for a second. So at a time in my life where I had my previous partner was not loyal, and I had, abruptly found out, it was devastating. And that was also at a time that I had just gotten into physical fitness. And this gentleman, the role model, has a gym. And so I still belong to that gym. It's become a second home to me. I've met so many wonderful people from that. So he has been such a core, and I'll say it again, masculine, stable person that I know if I'm in a pinch, I can give him a call and he will always have my back. I've never truly felt like I had that until I guess it was 22.
Let's switch gears just a little bit. If you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now, who would you love to meet and talk to?
What recently has come into my field here, I've been reading this book, and the author, her first name is Regina. However, people call her Mama Gina. And I would say that the book that I'm reading has been so relatable and exciting to feel. I would love to meet that woman. And at some point, I know that I will, just because I am going to continue to explore her work.
What is it that ultimately motivates you every day? When we wake up, we have these motivators that lead us through our lives. What is it for you? What really gets you moving in that direction?
The deeper discovery of myself. Because I believe, as I'm growing in my spiritual journey, I believe that we are all just different perspectives of one collective. So even the wonderful people that I've had interactions with and that I end up coaching, it's beautiful to have those experiences because it also teaches me more about myself. Because someone that I actually meditate with, I believe her saying is, we are the universe experiencing itself from one specific perspective. So I want to say that the motivating factor in my life is really exploring more perspectives and being open to just discovering more about life, which in turn is myself, because again, the belief that we are the universe, that we are just immensely capable, so much more than we give ourselves credit for. I am on the journey of discovering more and continuing to be curious about how much pleasure, how much joy can I feel while I'm here.
So if you had a dream tonight, you ran into the younger version of yourself, say, in your 20s, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom that you've gained in your life and the roads you've been down, what would you tell your young version?
I love this question. I would tell my younger self to trust yourself. Time and time again, I've made decisions from a wounded place that I would continue to reach out in my environment to feel some sort of way rather than following myself and really tapping into my ability. So I would absolutely say that your first gut reaction or intuition is yourself, and I would tell her to follow that every single time.
So what's been one of the best client responses, fan letter you've ever gotten?
One of the best responses I've gotten was actually from one of my closest friends that she and I grew up together, and we had gotten some testing done, and she was really having some, I would say it was anxiety, or I wouldn't label it as depression, but similar symptoms, and just emotionally dysregulated and hurt. We had started to work together as practitioner and client, and she was sharing that even after the testing and after going through a healing protocol, her digestive system did a complete 180. She did not feel bloated. She had direction and clarity while her Western medicine doctors hadn't been helpful. So I think just seeing her light in herself change from simple adjustments in her lifestyle made me feel completely humbled to have the opportunity to help a very close friend of mine and see her blossom, because she is also in the health and wellness space.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your clients, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Some terms that come up, my perception of me is that I'm a very curious seeker. I am extremely driven and health-minded. My perception is that I'm never, not that I'm never satisfied, but I'm never stuck in one place at a time, because I'm always looking for more things to enhance and to optimize myself and to help clients optimize themselves. I think the perception of me is, sometimes lost, but also being okay in that lostness, because as I have an awareness to observe more, I find that my perception continues to change because my belief in myself continues to be enhanced. I would say overall, that is the roundabout way, the perception I feel about myself currently.
Wonderful. So if anyone out there wants to learn more about you, your services, anything related to your world, where can they go on the web?
I would be honored, yes. My email is discover@FalynMorningstar.com. Email would be the most appropriate and fastest way to get in contact with me.
Wonderful. This has been great. Hey, thank you for opening up. I'm glad that I was able to be one of the first on the platform to interview you. So thank you for taking time out. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. So I greatly appreciate your time and your questions. It definitely got me thinking, more about.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.